Welcome to this episode of Trauma Rockstars. I'm so excited for everybody to meet Maisie. She is so fun. Her story is just very interesting in general. And she's a holistic health practitioner and a trauma healer. So we're going to kind of talk about what that is and how you became that. But Maisie, please welcome to Trauma Rockstars. I'm so excited to have you on this episode. I know we've been waiting a couple months for this, so it's super, super exciting. Um, how far back do you want to go? I want to talk about your bodybuilding. I want to talk about all that, but I want to, maybe you want to go back to when you were a kid and
Yeah,
start with that, and we can kind of build up to how you became
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Tracy, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm super excited to be here
Me
and
too.
support you and your business and your audience. Gosh, taking it back to being a kid. So I was your typical high achiever kid. I was the one who didn't fail. That was like not the words that we use. Always doing something, very active, always outside. I enjoyed a lot of time with friends. I was only child, so I didn't have siblings or anything like that, but I did spend a lot of time with my family and my friends. Through the ages, though, I guess that high achiever mentality of all or nothing or that need to prove myself was something that came really big into middle school, high school timeframe. I got bullied as a kid, which is really weird for me to say being almost 35. Like, how do you go back and you say these things?
No, I think we all did. I mean, kids are
Yeah.
just cruel,
Kids are mean.
kids are mean. And I see a lot of that in my niece and nephew. I'm like, come on, you guys, but just kids are mean.
Kids are mean, and I've got 3 kids of my own, and my kids bicker like I don't know what, and I'm like, "God, I don't know what any of this is like." I was an only child, so I don't know. I
Yeah. See what you were missing out on?
Yeah, no, that was good. It would've been nice to have a best friend all the time, but then the moments when
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
like each other, it's chaos.
Yeah.
But anyway, so going through the just I don't know, like, I had a kid I remember being on a bus, and I was headed home from school one day, and I remember this girl threw candy, and it landed in my hair. And I'm just like these were kids that lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I sat at the front of the bus, not so the big kids sat in the back of the bus, which is originally where I was. And I don't know, continue to get picked on, all this kind of stupid stuff. I remember sitting up at the front with first graders. And they were, and then I got picked on for doing that. And I was like, I'd rather be up here than be with stupidity. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't play that game. But I think that is a moment that really embarked on a whole different journey of self-worth issues that
Mhm.
played out.
And you were a adolescent, teenager, which, I don't know any that are confident.
Right. Right. I was confident in the things that I did and like confident in my abilities to do I was a volleyball player. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. I enjoyed being on the court. I was your overachiever. So I'd go
Yeah.
after everything. But I was also the type of person who I want to make you feel happy and
Mhm.
safe. Like, you don't need to be upset. Let me be the encourager. I'm a
Mhm.
Leo. That is my astrology sign.
Mhm.
A Cancer moon and a Gemini rising, which means I feel the feels of other people. So
Mhm.
before any conversation ever gets said, I already know. And so
Yeah.
that's how it was with a lot of my friend groups. So I was like the mom of everybody else. Let me cater to your needs. But I was
Yeah.
also the center of attention as well in my group because I was just the naturally fun, flirty social butterfly. I was also very boy crazy in my days, in my younger years. And again, that's that self-worth, like accept me, love me, accept me.
Yeah.
My dad was a police officer, so he worked a
Mhm.
lot of shift work. I was
Long hours.
Yep, long hours, and we were on opposite schedules. So we would
Yeah.
hit and miss each other. As I'm, going to school, he's coming in from work. He did a lot of night shifts.
Mhm.
So this made me and my mom super close, but I didn't have the father figure aspect, I
Mhm.
guess, that I needed. And no fault to my dad. So, dad, if you ever hear this, no fault to you.
Well, yeah, and he came home and probably wanted to go to bed. He was probably
Oh, he did.
exhausted.
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And, but I think having a little bit of that absence kind
Mhm.
of created more of that, okay, where are we getting that masculine? figure from.
Mhm.
Because my mom is so much in her feminine.
Mhm.
And me, I'm not. I am the let's do all the things. But my mom also had to play both roles. So going through that and just experiencing those things, it led down, unfortunately, some very shady routes in relationships
Mhm.
where the emotionally unavailable people are the ones that I typically chase. And I will say that I chase because I was the person of, okay, well, I can fix you.
'Cause that's who you go after. You go after yourself. Like, where you're wherever you're at, you go after the level playing field, right?
Yeah, 100%. And so from there, I just kind of put everything into relationships until I hit one that rocked me pretty solid.
Mhm.
And he I don't know, he was obsessed with working out and everything else, and he was doing some steroids at the time, so I got into the whole gym aspect, and then
Mhm.
it took over. And I had been diagnosed in 2010 with an autoimmune disease. Now,
Mhm.
mind you, at this time, they gave me a no-name autoimmune because it mimicked everything. So trying to figure that route out was rough, and I don't know, there was some point in college where it was just like, "You know what? I want to work out because working out actually makes my body feel a little bit better."
Mhm.
So I got into that, and
Is
then
that when you start were bodybuilding?
no, I didn't start bodybuilding yet. Not
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Not yet.
'Cause okay, and 'cause I don't wanna interrupt your story too much, but I do wanna go back to when you were 15 too, what happened?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's just however you wanna
Yeah,
segue
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. So well, we'll bring up 15 since this is kind of fast forward. So years old, I was molested, and I the funny thing is you often get that question of like, "Well, what were you wearing? Was it whatever?" I honestly remember I was in pants and a t-shirt when this event took place, and I remember that moment forward was kind of one of those things where my one of my best friends was raped that same summer. And so we get back to school, we're having a conversation, and I remember her telling me, I don't think I ever want to be touched or looked at again." Like, she was so different when she came back to school. And it also, I guess, became a connecting piece because we grew so very close together.
Mhm.
And that kind of fed both of our energies of needing that support and, you know, who are we? Now we're like, at least in my term, was okay, there's filth. You
Did you
know,
tell your
there's
parents?
I gave subtle words to my parents that they knew at that moment. It took a while for me to say something. There was a breaking moment. I remember being in the living room and I just like lost my shit and had a mental breakdown. And then
Especially with your dad being a police officer, like,
yeah,
you
that
know.
wasn't cool either. I remember that moment. So the guy worked at Walmart. And I remember my dad going over there so that I could point fingers to who it was. And I I remember this, but I could tell you right now if that dude was standing, I'd shake his hand because I have no recollection of what he looks like. But
Interesting.
my dad grabbed his neck and was like, pulled him in and made him look at me for standing over there. And I'm like sobbing. I'm shocked because I'm like, the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Did you know this person?
No. I mean, well, I had met them in Walmart and they would typically take a break. Like we were 10 years apart in age.
Yeah.
So, we would have conversations and things like that, but there was nothing beyond that. And
Mhm.
then from there, things just kinda shifted.
Yeah.
Um, it was I don't know, it was really weird. And then I ended up seeing him a couple years later at a concert, and I remember being like, "Oh my god, I know who that is." And he do you know that dude gave me his phone number that day at that concert?
So, and at that time, you weren't able to put two and two together because you were probably so.
Well, like, I remembered, and I knew everything. It wasn't like I was past that, like,
Yeah.
I'm past it. I let go of that. I forgave
Uh,
that, healed that, whatever, even though my body hadn't. My
right.
mind was just forgetting, trying to
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
And I remember, honestly, that day that he gave me his phone number, I'm like, "Why do I have this? Like, why? What there is no but there's an emotional connection that happens no matter what, whenever there is some kind of sexual space, right? And this is more of what I learned because a lot of the women that I work with, they've been through abuse of
Mhm.
some form. It is that there is an emotional connection and need, maybe not to that person, right? We can have anger, we can have frustrations, we can have all kinds of things. The more work that I do with women who have been through any kind of abusive situations or sexual assault or anything like that, the body shifts, the DNA changes. And where you store that information in your body matters on what kind of symptoms your body's going to go through later. So
Mhm.
for me, that's what I fully believe to this day was triggering my autoimmune.
You're autoimmune.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because even though my mind was forgetting everything, we're
Oh,
just like,
yeah. Yeah.
bypass it, forget it ever happened. Whoever, people see me as whatever, that's a you thing. And I don't know, I just like the more that I got connected to myself and my body, the more that it made sense.
Mhm.
So I remember in 2010, I get diagnosed, no name. I get different kinds of medicine. I remember my doctor telling me, well, you're gonna basically live and die on this medication. And I was like, the fuck I am. Like,
Don't you love that they just throw you meds and they don't even have a name for what they're giving it?
nope. They were trying to give me Hashimoto's, they were trying to give me rheumatoid arthritis, but it mimicked so many other things.
Yeah.
There was nothing until 2022 when I had a relapse. And then I got a
Mhm.
full straight diagnosis. And I was like, well, that would have been helpful years ago.
When you told me about that, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god." So you suffered for what, 8 years or
Yeah.
9
Well,
years?
yes and no, because that's when I took a holistic route. That's when I started really zoning in on nutrition. I had always believed since I was a kid that medicine is it's plants. Plants are medicine.
Right.
Nutrition is medicine. How you feed your body is how your body is going to respond.
I truly feel like the earth, there's a cure for everything, you know?
Yes. Yes. And so if you believe that, you'll always find that. You'll
Yeah.
be on that search and you'll get that answer. So that
So
was
didn't they diagnose you? Wasn't it Lyme's?
no, they ended up in 2022 I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, that's right. It was
Yeah.
MS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, he was like, "Yeah, you're definitely showing MS symptoms." He's
And a
like,
lot of MS is environmental.
"Well, it's stress. It's stress
Yeah.
on the nervous system, stress on the body. It's
Yeah.
the scarring of all the things and, your sheath of your nerves.
Mhm.
So the more and I the more that I've studied it even since 2022, all of it just makes sense. And so it has helped me in my career even in the last couple of years. And I've been doing this for over 12 years. So
Yeah.
I've been doing holistic health practitioner and trauma healer for over 12 years. But it has definitely enhanced more of my clients coming through with these unexplained symptoms.
Mhm.
And yes, it gives us a nutrition basis, it gives us more science, it gives us more, clinical things that we can take a look at, but it also gives me way more answers into the emotional side. So 2010 get diagnosed and then it was like 2013 I graduated from college and then 2014 bodybuilding because why not? Like, oh, I'm already fit. So many of my friends were bodybuilders in the gym and they were just like, you're really close. You could just do like an 18-week prep or 16-week prep and you can make it. Well, I did that. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, show me how to do this.
Yeah, because you go all in.
Yeah, I was in that. I was like, "All right, you tell me I already look good. Let's go."
Yeah.
And I did it, and it was the most fun that I ever had. And I think it was also a moment for me to say, so I get diagnosed with this autoimmune disease and I defeat it by getting on stage and doing like something that my body would have been like, "Whoa,
You'll
this
have
is
to send me
painful."
pictures and I'll, like, try and flash them in. I'm
So
learning how to do that.
I love that. I love that for you. Look, you could show me some tricks on my podcast because
Ugh,
I'm basic in
I'm
this.
not the person you wanna ask for that.
So bodybuilding takes over, and I did that for about 10 years. It ended up being an escape. It ended up being my token of number one, I'm a personal trainer at the same time. So, like, we got to look the part. But
Yeah.
number two, it was an escape. It was that all or nothing mentality. I could put everything into it, shut everything else off. And that was my blinders. I'm going to
Mhm.
make this. I'm going to get a crown. I'm going to get this. All I did was chase whatever was escaping, whatever
Yeah.
whatever was that freedom, that fun, that escape, that thing.
But you're still allowed to have fun
Oh,
and
yeah,
do things you're
100%.
passionate about. So, I mean, I'm glad that because a lot of people, when, trying to go through figuring themselves out, they kind of go into a shell and you still went out and lived life and participated in that with your friends and you knew that made you happy. So
Yeah.
you were like
Yeah.
far ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah. So I go through and I did my first show and then I get married and then I end up pregnant. So I'm like, okay, well, bodybuilding is going to have to take a back seat, which that was a constant topic of discussion. Even at the church that we were going to, there were some people who were like, yeah, bodybuilding it's not good, this and that. So it was all this external pressure.
Because you were pregnant. Is that what they were saying?
No, because you're flaunting yourself in a skinny little swimsuit and whatever on stage. So at the time, I was believing a lot of these things,
Hmm.
and things just kind of shifted. After being a mom, mom took over everything. So 2016, I get pregnant. 17, I get pregnant again. So just had my kid. Boom, we're pregnant again a few months later. My girls are 13 months apart. So
Yeah, that's my niece and nephew. They're Irish twins.
yeah, it's rough. And that's
Yeah.
what they would always get called. To this day, they still get called twins, and
Yeah.
they're both like, "We're not twins."
Yeah.
So, I decided after that second pregnancy, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go do another bodybuilding show. It's been on my heart, it's been on my mind, this is what I wanna do." And my family supported me in that, and, so decided to put all that together, and then I think I think it was 2020, the world had shut down with COVID. So every
Yes, I
show
got the memo.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
So every show started getting canceled, and I kept
Yeah.
telling my coach, move it back. We'll
Yeah.
stay, move it back. We'll stay,
Yeah.
move it back," till the end of the year, and I was like, "Fuck." One time that I'm like, "Man, I'm getting ready to get back on stage." Um, so there was that, and then 2020 at the end of 2020, I got pregnant, and then
Again.
yeah, again, and I did have a miscarriage. Let's see, my middle child was born in 2008, and I got pregnant the next year in 2019.
Mm.
So, when I got pregnant in 2019, I ended up miscarrying, and we caught the measles, which was the craziest thing, and it forced me to have a miscarriage.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
it was insane. But I remember being also grateful in a sense because that was the time that I would have delivered, you could not have any support people in the room.
I know.
I would have been alone, and this was also the time that a lot of people were telling me, as soon as you gave birth to your baby, they were taking your baby. And I was like, "Nope, nope." Like, there was fear and everything else that was coming in on that. And
Yeah.
so I re I remember that just that space, and I was like, "Okay, well, then I'm gonna this is gonna be my comeback year. 2020 is gonna be my comeback year. This is me, I'm doing my
Mhm.
thing." And in 2021, um, I ended up end of 2020, got pregnant, ended up having my son in 2021. So and he is my rainbow baby. So he is my joy, he's my bundle of everything, he's life. Oh my god, he's about to be 5, and
And a
all
cute
he
age, super cute age.
yes, and he is my little ham,
Yeah.
mama's boy. So, got my boy.
Well, you
Uh,
got your boy because you have your 2 girls, I'm sure, they run circles around you, I'm sure.
yes, and we have our mommy-daughter days.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so much great time together. But I also remember in 2020, at the end of that, I was struggling a lot still, self-worth wounds, and a lot of it was me as a mom. I was a lot just anxious all the time, like, postpartum like, it was like postpartum anxiety, like, never disappeared. I was running a very successful business. Again, I've been doing this for over 12 years, so by the time I first got pregnant, I was already a year and a half in,
Yeah.
and everything had gotten moved online in 2020, and I started getting more time freedom. I hired people to help me and support me in my business because when I went online, everything took off, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool. Great. Here we are."
Especially during the pandemic. I
Yeah.
mean, everything shifted.
And holistic health was really shifting at that time frame because everybody's mindset was shifting. It
Yeah.
wasn't just food and fitness, was we were adding in a little bit more of like, okay, we're forced to have calm nervous systems because the world shut down. There's not much else you can do. Go
Right.
outside. But there was also at the end of that year when things were opening back up, people were going back to work, different things like that. Even into 2021, there was a I don't know if you could feel it, if you could feel it, but there was a complete emotional shift that happened during that time frame. It was
Yes.
like everything sped up.
Yeah.
So everybody's nervous systems, we go from this quiet, calm space to, oh my God, we're back in go mode.
And
And that,
but it also made everybody stop to think about a lot.
yeah.
A lot of relationships ended.
Yep.
A lot of inner work that made you start, a lot of people took advantage of it and did a lot of inner work. And that's when my healing journey started,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
love that. When I started healing and doing more trauma work, that was in 2017.
Okay. So you were a little ahead of the eight ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember in 2017, I went on a girls' trip with one of my friends, and we were local to my area, but we went, I don't know, we went on this little hiking trail. And I remember telling her, I said, I think the biggest thing that I'm having issues with is forgiving what happened when I was 15. Because at that time, I was at the age, okay, 10 years apart, I'm now at your age. So there was like something was happening to me there at
Hmm.
that point. I'm at your age. You have a kid. I have a kid. How could I have possibly ever thought at that age this was acceptable? So I think it was the first moment where I fully released the blame on
Hmm.
myself. I was not the problem.
Right.
Despite whatever society typically says of, well, I mean, let's look at how you dress. And I'm like, sweatpants?
Yeah.
Come on. Is that sexy to
Right.
you? No. And then there's so many different things that, correlate. You lead people on or this or that. And it's like, I don't really, sure, there are probably women who do that, right? I think we know some people who do that, but that's not every woman's journey who goes through something like this.
They ultimately don't want that,
No, that's not
and,
what they're asking for.
people, that dress provocatively. I mean, I've been there, over the years and stuff. I mean, you're not going out asking for it. People don't ultimately want
No.
that.
And I honestly hate that stigma. I hate
Yeah.
that being the thing. Oh, where you're just how you're dressing is how you're asking for it.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope. Because you can no longer say that when my incident happened in sweatpants and a t-shirt.
And I think a lot of that's changing. It's
It
not
is. Yeah.
progressing like at the speed we would like to see it, but it is. And you're seeing a lot of that changing now. And even men are starting to recognize like we can't treat women this way and we need to teach our sons the proper way to treat women and live by example no matter how they're dressed, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think a lot of it too. So I work with a lot of women who have been through abuse. It's emotional abuse, physical abuse, and that's my jam. That's my cup of tea with my ladies because
Mhm.
if anybody is going to be struggling with self worth after that, I totally understand that. I get
Yes.
it. So that started bringing in a lot of women who also not only were they going through abusive issues, they had suffered from some form of sexual assault early on. So there was a big tie that was coming in during that time frame. And just sitting there doing the work that I do, so holistic health practitioner and a trauma healer, my job is to take a look at your body and really decipher if you've got unexplained symptoms, you've been dismissed by your doctor, you've been brushed off, you've been told all your labs are normal. It's just a part of aging. It's just your hormones, whatever.
Right.
You don't feel normal. You feel anything but that. So if you're snapping at your kids and your partner, you're struggling day to day with exhaustion that just no amount of caffeine touches. If you're struggling with burnout, if you're struggling with if you're in freeze mode, another
Mhm.
big thing. You got piles of laundry that's going on and we're not doing it. If we're struggling with gut health or hormonal imbalances and we're going through the woes of perimenopause or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
your every symptom has a story, and every story holds a belief. Every belief creates your results, whether you like
Y-
it or not.
It's so funny you're mentioning because you're mentioning like perimenopause, like no matter what stage you're at in that, if you're 40, you're in perimenopause, period. People like don't realize that. But like, do you feel, or I don't know if you've done research on this, but do you feel that so many people suffer horribly going through menopause? Do you think a lot of that has to do with the stress our nervous system is carrying? Because because some people just suffer so much worse than others. And there's so many, they get dismissed by their providers because of their symptoms, but it's almost like getting into the root of it might be nervous system,
Yep.
trauma, you
Yep.
know?
So when I work with a lot of my ladies, the first thing that I do, again, taking a look at your body. As a
Yeah.
trauma healer, I'm sitting in each organ system. So one of the things I was doing social media content around is the right eye versus the left eye. You can hold trauma in your eyes. It's not just blurred vision. It's not just because I'm aging. There might be, and it's not just screen time. A lot of it could be related to trauma and stress. If you've got tension headaches, you've got jaw, TMJ issues, you've got a lot of neck and shoulder
Yeah. Oh,
tension.
yeah. We carry it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're carrying all this weighted responsibilities here. But your right eye is also, so you can carry your beliefs in here too. Your right eye is how you see the world,
Hmm.
right?
I'm
But
like,
your left eye is how you feel the world sees you and how you see you.
I've never heard this.
Because your right side is your masculine side. It's all
Yeah.
about doing, it's all about external, it's all about
Okay.
giving. Your left side is your feminine side. It's all about receiving. So if you have difficulty receiving love, let's say, you might struggle with ovary pain. You might have hormonal imbalances. Maybe you have heavier,
Fibroids.
yeah, fibroids. You might have heavier cycles. There are sometimes I get connected with women who they like I had one girl who cervix, right? So I'm not physically touching your body. I work with people all around the world.
Right.
But every organ has a meaning. And it's
Hmm.
not your template, you might think, let's say liver and gallbladder. Oh, well, you've got a lot of, detox issues in there. Well, then maybe you hold a lot of resentments or anger and frustrations. Maybe you hold it in your eyes. Maybe you actually hold it in your cervix. Cervix is all about fear of opening and, fear of
Yeah.
opening, setting boundaries. How
Doesn't
often
reflexology do a lot of this where it focuses on certain areas of your body and doing
and
that?
trigger points? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So your feet mimics like
Yeah.
your body.
I've
So
just never heard this about the eyes, about your right eye and your
So
left
your
eye.
your right eye is how you see the world, is how you think the world sees you and how you view yourself. So a lot of women who, if they're struggling with body image issues, you're gonna hold it on that side. So maybe your left side is a little bit tighter than your right side, whatever. At any point, shoulder, neck, whatever.
Interesting.
Where you hold your trauma may not be where it happened. So like sexual assault is not necessarily all in the reproductive organs.
Right, right.
Sometimes it's
It
held
could be anywhere.
it could be anywhere. Sometimes it's held in your throat. If it's
Mhm.
maybe you now fear speaking up for yourself, because what did it get me before? I can't say anything, so I'm
Does
silenced.
does this
It might
affect, like,
I
if you're more right or left side dominant? Does that have if anything, or does that not really factor into this?
so if you look at the body as a whole, I mean, right side and left side, I'm left-handed, but
Mhm.
I'm thinking more on the right side of my brain. Like, I'm always thinking more logically.
Uh-huh.
Right-handed, your left side is more of your creative side.
Yeah.
So it's just your feminine energy. You're kind of split in that meridian. However, we should operate between both. You can never not be in your masculine and only be in your feminine. And you
Mhm.
cannot only be in your masculine and not be in your feminine. There has to be
Right.
a creative spark. So a lot of my ladies who come to me, they're your high achievers. They're your ambitious women who are like go getters. I got to prove to the world I am
Yeah.
me and I can do this by myself. Well, of course you can. but you don't have to. And you don't have to
Mhm.
kill yourself over trying to get there. So we try to sit
Interesting.
more in the rest and digest phase of your
And is
nervous.
it the same in men?
Oh, same in men.
Same in men? Yeah.
I work predominantly with women, so
I know.
here we talk more about ladies.
No, I'm just wondering because they're biologically, they're just different than us. So I was wondering if it was
Yeah,
this, you know, of
men still have feminine aspects.
course. Yes.
So they'll have creative things like, my partner now, he is so creative in his eyes. He's Pisces,
Mhm.
and he is a TV producer. He has an eye for things. So photography, everything. If we go fishing, he's bringing a camera typically because something's going to catch his eye and catch his attention. Well, that might be the masculine state of running a business, but he's in the feminine space of that creativity. He
Right.
actually makes me be more creative,
That's great. So
which
it's
is
a nice
great. It
balance.
is. It is that balance because I'm not always having to do, and he leads, So
Yeah.
now being in a relationship where there is that balance of masculine and feminine, like it's him saying, "Hey, we're going to go do this. Do you want to be a part? Do you want to be included?" Yes, I
Mhm.
do. Thank you so much. Tell me when we're ready to leave. Whatever the case is. But there is that masculine and feminine. So when
Yeah.
you're in that space of sitting in your feminine, it's more commanding, it's more reserved. You don't have to speak. Your energy speaks. It's
So how would somebody that maybe they're listening to this and they're like, okay, I might call Macy because maybe she could help me, but they're like, okay, how do I find out where in my body I'm holding this? Like you said, if just because you're sexually abused doesn't mean you're holding it in your reproductive organs, you know?
right. Yeah.
I,
And we could sit here. So one simple thing that you can ask yourself is, am I holding stress in my body? Your body's going to respond. It might be where your heart starts racing. You might feel a lump in your throat. You might
yeah.
have some pain in your head or the back of your neck. If you ask yourself, am I holding stress in my body? Now, the key kicker is with the work that I do, we could, so example, I had one client I did a stress, I do stress maps for people. So this is mapping all your
I was going
organs.
to ask you about the
Okay.
mapping. I have it
Yeah.
in my notes. So
I do body mapping. I do body stress mapping.
yeah.
So, what that means is all your organs are holding on to different forms of stress. Your body has lived through experiences, which means your mind remembers things as pictures, your body remembers everything as emotions. So, how did it make you feel? Right. And it's going to trap a memory in there that it might trigger your mind later, it may not. So, when I'm doing stress mapping, number one, I never want somebody to come to me and have to relive their painful experiences. So that is the beauty of the work that I do. I don't have my clients relive their experiences. What I focus on is, where is this coming from? What is the feeling and the emotional attachment or the emotional pattern that happened or originated? When did it originate? So sometimes there's timelines that I'll get from it. And
Hmm.
then how is that playing out today? So I'll give you
Hmm.
an example. I had a lady who came to me. Now, mind you, I've never met this person because most of the
Right.
time that's how it is. They get my website, they go, "Yes, I want to do a stress mapping session." I'm like, "Great. All I need is a picture of your face. If you can give me a picture of your face, we're good." So I got this woman's picture and I'm going through all of her organs and everything, and I get to her hand. Well, I get to her chest first because I start top of the head and then I work my way down. And I get to her chest and I'm like, there's a hole here. It's like, and I kept sitting there and I'm like, I could
Is this on Zoom you're doing this?
Yeah, but before I even meet the person, I'm giving them their scan. So you can review it before we get there. So it's energy reading.
So you can do this just from a headshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Amazing. Okay.
So I get her picture and I'm going through everything and I'm like connected in and I'm sitting in her energy and I'm like, something in your chest. Like, what is this? And it felt lost. It felt like it almost like everything like dumped out. Something was ripped from her. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back. So I go through the rest of the body and I get to her hand, her right hand specifically, and I'm like, I could sob there. Like I started weeping and I'm like, what is
You
this?
felt something. Yeah.
Yes. There's so much grief here. And I'm like, I kept doing this and I'm like, something was taken from you. Something was out of your hands. What is this? Had no clue, couldn't get any more information. So I go into her stress scan and I type out, hey, there's something here. and it feels like it's between the ages of 19 to 21. I can't get any more information. So, whatever you feel that you could give me, whether this feels like it resonates or not, cool. If it resonates, great. Share with me some information if you got it. If not, it's fine. We'll leave it where it is and leave it in the dust. Because I don't give you things that are set in stone. Just take what resonates, leave the rest. So we get on the call, and at this point, I'm like, I need to figure out what this is. Well, we have 2 weeks before she booked her call. So I'm like, I'm waiting and I'm like, hey, what'd you think about it? And she's like, oh my God, I got so many notes, but there's so much accuracies. And I was like, great. And I'm waiting till we get to this call because I'm like, I want to know what this is. It was driving me nuts. So we get on the call and I was like, what is the hand? And she went back through and she's like 19 to 21. She said, I took notes around this. So I was in college and I found out I was pregnant and I had to let go her and her husband found out that they were pregnant. She said, I had to let go of my career. So she said, I couldn't handle it. And I was like, oh, you used hand. And she said, it caused me to have to let go of what I cherished most was my career. And so it was really empowering to hear her be in that space of this all makes sense.
Mm.
Because like after that, the symptoms and everything else, it was like dots were connecting.
So she's been harboring that, not even realizing it all these years later.
Yeah. I had another lady that when I got to her uterus, it was like an empty hole. And I was like, oh my God, there's death here. And I could not remember. Sometimes people will like try to word vomit everything about their life. And I try to scroll really quickly. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want that. Just
yeah.
la 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 la. I'm not going to read this. And then because I don't want to know, I want to be able to be more in tune and see what comes up and what you're willing to share. So I do her stress scan and I'm like, there's a hole here. And I had to go back through our messages. I even told her, I said, I'm going back through messages to see if you mentioned to me that there's a miscarriage here. And I could sense like a feminine energy that was coming through. And I'm like, did you know the gender of the child? Was this too early? Like what? Uh, but there was a feminine energy. And I'm like, is this a little girl? And I remember getting on the call with her and she was like, I knew it was a girl. And we didn't know the gender. She said, "I
Mm.
did have a miscarriage, but I knew it was a little girl. I knew it was a little girl." And I gave her in there, I was giving her some scriptures that were coming, they were just coming to my mind, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna write it down." And, when I gave her those 2 scriptures, I started them and I stopped them, and I was like, "Do I need to give all of it?" But it was just trust and know. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I don't need to give anything else." And then I forget what the other one was. And when I sent her scan and she goes to review it, of course, we have like 48 hours or something before our call. And I told her, I said, just tell me whatever your thoughts and feedback are. That way I know what we're going to bring up on the call. Um, so we get to the call and she said, you gave me my 2 favorite scriptures that got me during that tough time. And I was like, well, that's incredible. She's like,
Yeah.
and I mean, at that point, she was like, "I'm so invested in this, like, this," and it was helpful because it gave her clarity. Your
Yeah.
symptoms aren't random. They're stories that your body's trying to communicate and tell you.
Oh my gosh, that's
So,
so is this the first step if somebody wants to work with you?
yes,
This
this is
is
the first step. Yes.
okay, so the body mapping, stress mapping, same thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
So they would reach out to you and this would be the first thing you would do. How long, like if I sent like I reach out to you, you didn't know me, I sent you my headshot or whatever, how long before you go through and get all that before we can set up a call?
So you set up the call whenever you book the appointment, and you can set it up for whenever. Typically, and, like, it's already set up, you can't book within the first 48 hours, because whenever you book a call, I'm gonna be doing your scan in the next 48.
Yeah,
I can't
okay,
you
so it's
can't get on a
about 2
call and
days.
then I haven't done it yet, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I always do the scan within the first 48 hours of your booking, so you have something to look at. Doesn't matter when you book the call for, you get your scan in the first 48 hours, so you can meditate on it, you can read through it
Yeah.
however many times you feel you need to, and then when we get to the call, whatever time frame you booked your call, this is where we're gonna discuss some of those things. I have everything in there highlighted. Anything that's highlighted, it's all for you. So
Yeah.
no two stress maps will ever be the same. Doesn't matter if you even walk through the same
It's custom.
traumas. It's
Yeah.
different. Your body is going to accept things differently. It makes healing a lot faster and a lot
How did you discover this body mapping?
So back in 2018, I started really diving into emotion coding.
Mhm.
And now they give you like a template and it'll give you like column A, column B, and then it'll tell you what organs. And I'm like, this isn't enough information for me. So I went down a long rabbit hole
Mhm.
because I've always been so intrigued into the body. And I went down a long rabbit hole of emotions and body and how does your body lodge it? And I started doing work on myself and my kids.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I used them as guinea pigs. And I was like, hey, come here. I started with magnets. Your
Yeah.
body is going to respond to magnets because we have energy fields. And so I started using magnets on my kids. And I'm like, and they're like, what are you doing? And I remember that I remember one of my kids and, like, some of my family members, I'm like, "Hey, let me run a magnet over your meridian." They're like, "My what?" And I'm like, "Just stand here.
I
Let
feel
me."
like just humor me.
And you could feel the magnet repel or attract.
Mhm.
And then it was
Interesting.
like, "Okay, what's going on here?" So, I start studying even more and I go beyond that. And I go into just more intuitive things. It was like information and would downloads, however you want to call this stuff. It just started coming in to where when I connected with a client, I would literally get on a call and I'd be like, "What are you so anxious about?" And they're like, "I haven't I haven't even said hello to you." And I'm like, "That's okay, you don't have to. What is going on? Why are you feeling this way?" And they're like, "How the fuck do you know?" And I remember one client, I get on a call with her, she's new, coming into my circle, and I remember at one point she was just like I had told her, I said, There's we were here for business because she wanted to know some information in her business and wanted to be there for health and, like, how can I do better in my business so I could take better care of my body?" And I get on the call and I was like, "Okay, well, we're not talking about any of those things today." And she was like, "Why?" And I said, "Because your relationship is coming through." And I said, "Did you get in a fight with your spouse yesterday?" And she's like, "I'm just gonna let you have this one because I don't know how the fuck you know this, and I'll be happy to talk about it." And I said, "Well, if it's coming through, then it's something that needs to be released."
Right.
So we get on the call, we talk about it, and at the end of it, she felt physical changes in her body. And because we talked it through, I was like, "Okay, let's talk about, like, what happened." And then I remember telling her, "Well, this comes from a moment in your childhood." I was like, I think it was, like, between the ages of 6 and 8. Something
Mhm.
specific that I was telling her about, and she was like, "I've never told you that." She's like, "I'm gonna keep playing the game." And I was like, "Keep playing the game. Let's just keep playing and see where it goes." And I remember her at the end of the call talking about how it was like there was a release, something shifted. And I was like, "Good, that's what we want."
Every single episode, I talk about how trauma affects your nervous system. Every single episode, and I think people listen and they're like, "Okay, well that makes sense." Yada yada. And I've got people on that can dive deeper into that are professionals. I'm not. This is the next step to figure out where you're holding it, because you might have tension everywhere, but this is how you can really hone in. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. This is such a specialized thing that you're doing. It's amazing.
I don't know anybody else who does this, to
Oh
be
my
honest
gosh,
with you.
it's amazing. Do you Okay, let's just because of time, I just want you to talk about your empowering podcast.
Okay. So I have a podcast for empowering female leaders in holistic health. So health professionals, women that I connect with, yes, women only, that I connect with who I feel are just sacred in my circle to be able to refer business to. I
Yeah.
can't do everything. I don't want to do everything. I
No.
do what I do and I specialize in that and I love that. And
Right.
that'll be the continued thing that I do. And I bring other women in who have different gifts, different abilities, different whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
You're the expert in your field of what you do. And in some way, this is all about it's creating a movement. It's bringing women from all across the world who want different routes and avenues. They're tired of being
Mhm.
dismissed. They're tired of being rejected, tired of being told you're just normal, tired of whatever the bullshit is. They want more for themselves, for their family, to show up better, to be a better
Mhm.
mom, to be a better wife, whatever, to be a better woman, to lead better. Let me give you that avenue. Here's my resources. And these are women that I've sat on individual calls with and I've created a podcast for.
That's amazing.
Everybody is a
Your
queen.
crown.
Everybody is a queen.
Okay.
Everybody is a queen. We're all queens in this
Oh,
world.
I love it. Oh,
And
I
honestly, every single one of my clients that do come work with me and they join one of my more mentorship containers, everybody gets a
yes.
crown. It may
Oh,
not look like this one, okay, but everybody gets a crown. And the reason for that is because I firmly believe we're all queens. We're all queens of our own world, kings and
mhm.
queens of our own world. I mean, I got a king's crown over here. There are some men that I work with, but we don't talk about that publicly. But if it's aligned, we connect.
Yeah.
And everybody, this is all you've got. Your world, this is all you've got. Your body, this is all you get to
Mhm.
live in. And just because you may not necessarily have pain in a certain area doesn't mean that your body's not holding attention or a story there.
Right.
Symptoms show up in so many different ways to ping us and tell us, hey, give me safety,
Right.
give me peace, give me hope, give me joy. And I think that's
And
the missing piece for a lot of people is
you've
that,
got to, and you have to truly believe it up
yeah,
here that you're the queen. Do you, okay, did you tell me that you hold retreats as well?
I do. I am going to have my first retreat starting up this upcoming year in 2026.
Yay.
Yes, I am so excited. So if you do follow me, be looking for that.
Now, is
Um,
that going to be virtual or in
oh, no,
person?
no, no. It's in person.
Okay.
This is going to be where we start traveling for this. And then the following year, I am going to in February of 27. So this one's going to be October of 26. And in February, it just pulled my hair. And then February of 27, we're doing a business retreat as well. So if you're struggling with money mindset or money blocks of any kind in your business and you're wanting to get out of that so you can grow successful, then we're going to be hosting that as well.
Where are those going to be?
So we are still trying to figure out venues.
Because you're in Louisiana, right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
think the one, and I know for a fact, I think we solidified just last week. I need to go over and talk to the girl that's helping me with planning this because I told her, I was like, here's my non negotiables. I want mountains and I want a creek area or river area, but I don't care where. So she was like, what do you think about North Carolina? And I was like, I'm
Mhm.
down for that.
I was gonna say Carolinas,
Yeah.
Tennessee.
So
Yeah.
we started looking at North Carolina for the first one. I think we're going to end up solidifying everything around January, February. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. That'll be amazing. So this, I think this would be an awesome, I know you mostly specialize with women, but for the men in your lives, this would be a great session to book for your wife or girlfriend or I think that would be such a great gift idea too. But I think the starting point with you is just to get this body mapping done so you
Yeah,
can find out where your stresses are coming from. And like you said, you never know what's going to come up
that's 100%.
because
And
you're just as surprised as they are a lot of
I
times.
am. There's a lot of time I'm like, please tell me what this is because I have no clue and I can't figure it out. And I need you to
Yeah.
tell me. But
Well, your website, tell everybody how to get a hold of you, Macy, really quick.
so MSL Wellness, that stands for Maisie Smith-Lovett wellness.com. So mslwellness.com will give you everything that you need. It's got a lot of buttons on it. So you can go follow me on social media. You can go book a stress map. You can see what kind of fun things are coming up. You'll see that we have the retreats coming soon as we start to kind of build the landing page and everything for that. So that way we can
Yeah.
get people on that wait list.
That would be that would sound, isn't it going to be like a weekend retreat kind of thing
Yes.
for
Yeah.
both
It'll
of them,
be,
right?
I think this one is going to be on October. I think we solidified the date of October 15th through the 18th of 26,
Nice. And
which is
then
perfect time in fall.
I was going to say the
Yeah.
foliage will be gorgeous if you have it in the Carolinas, and then you're doing a business one in February.
Yeah, I don't have all the details for that. I
Yeah,
pick
stay
out
tuned.
Stay tuned. I did pick out 2 of my speakers. So, and it's not just me delivering this. This is
Yeah,
why I built the podcast, was to bring so many different people in from different
unity.
parts of the world. Yes, to be able to share their gifts. So,
Do you, and then your podcast, is it on all platforms?
it's only on YouTube.
YouTube? Okay. And then how often, how many like
I
episodes?
do an episode typically every week. Now, if somebody cancels or something like that, it gets moved, but typically you'll see one every Friday drop.
Okay, perfect. Well, this has been awesome. I'm so excited. When we talked, I remember I was driving down to Miami. We were in the car and you were sending me the cutest voicemails and you're like, it's just so much easier for me to send you the voice
It
message.
is.
And
It's so much easier
I'm
than
so
me sitting here and
excited
type.
to have you on and your energy work that you're doing and helping women to really like identify those triggers within their body is so needed. And just thank you so much for being on. And you're officially part of the Trauma Rockstar family, girl.
Yeah.
So that's another crown you can put on your head.
You so much.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll include all your information. And I'm sure that people are going to be very interested in reaching out to you because I know I am. So
Perfect.
thanks, Macy.
Thank
Take this.
you.
The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I am not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast doesn't offer medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental or physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.